Bank finance is very, very difficult to obtain. I would say it's almost impossible. The last one which I've seen was when SEB sold Megalor to ECE, the German shopping center manager, and that deal was dead because we couldn't get finance, and then ECE was able to go to Areal Bank in Frankfurt using personal relationships. In some way it got finance, but that is oftentimes quoted as an example for finance being available. I don't think it is an example because it comes out of a very specific background. A German bank in Germany financing just happened to be an asset in Italy. So I think the financing from the banking sector is very dry, if not almost not existing today. Which triggers the question: so who will close that debt gap and that need of financing? And I think we are discussing in Italy the same thing which is discussed on a European basis. We look at the debt funds. We think that the insurance company could help us, and then there's always the mezzanine financing somewhere flying around. In real terms, I think the Italian market is a little bit behind. That doesn't worry me. It has always, oftentimes, be the case that we are looking at what happens outside Italy and then we step in. I think we are having a legislation in Italy, a framework which is not necessarily helping us to make those alternative finance models become available. Just to mention insurance companies, Allianz is very active in this sector, as everybody of us knows about what they did in Germany and France. A perfect partner for real estate investment, you would gather, but and we look at it from the Italian perspective, and of course can't do origination. While you go into the alternative solution, you have a fronting bank, and then but that's also not so easy. And then you ask ESWAP, and ESWAP says, well, we never wanted insurance companies to really finance, to do the lending. And then you tell them, but there is a circolare which says you could. No, that wasn't meant to be this way. So it's a process which is still, I think, dealt with, and I wouldn't expect anything specific or concrete come into the market in the next 3 or 4 months. Which doesn't mean that the product will not arrive. Allianz is only one player. We have other insurance companies who are actively looking at it for the precise reason. The cost of funding from the bank side is so high today that this becomes a concrete alternative. It's an attractive investment. Of course, we're not talking about bridge financing. These guys are all looking at 10 years, in some way fixed interest. So it's not a product which will help us everywhere, but I think eventually insurance companies will find structures in Italy to provide capital. The same issue, I think, debt funds. We have actually here, John Feeney is launching his debt fund, and I think he will. Why shouldn't he also look at Italy? And the legal structures for that are available. They are not different from what we see happening in Europe. Everywhere we will have to address the shadow banking issue, that the authorities are looking at this lending activity with a very careful eye and don't want to have risk coming up which are not controlled. But I think we will have, we see partners for investment coming from one side. It's going to be the equity fund, and the other side is going to be the debt fund, and maybe then we have an insurance company teaming up with them as well. So I believe we will get there in Italy. Certainly it won't happen before the summer, but I think we will see those alternative finance sources become available.
Yes, the availability of finance is a key question for us. We believe that it will seriously affect the market, it will damage the equity returns. From our experience on financing and refinancing situations, the offer is very limited, very expensive, and very short-term oriented, which is structurally is not good for a long-term perspective. But what we see in the development without financing available, it's almost impossible to start new developments in Italy and in Europe. For standing investments, what we see is that there are funds, mainly opportunistic value-added funds, in some core that want to enter in the market, that see that are opportunities motivated by the drop on the market prices, but they don't have access to finance, which is a material obstacle to reach the targets that require. Generally speaking, those who want returns of 30% need to leverage what they buy. So for me, the big challenges in Europe for investors, for developers, is the availability of finance. Concerning the new finance providers, we are seeing some, but mainly in the press, but not in the real world so far. However, the amount of capital that can be raised by this type of funds, I believe that will be limited and substantially smaller than the void left by the departing banks and other traditional sources of finance. So for us, the financing is the key question